Recently, the Geikens joined my wife's side of the family for a family trip. Not a vacation, a family trip. There is a difference. And where did we go? We went to Okoboji. If you don't know, Okoboji is a series of lakes in northwestern Iowa that is often referred to as the Great Lakes of Iowa. We did a lot of various activities, but the one I want to focus on in this video is, of course, as the title suggests, fishing. So join me as I recap the highlights of a few great days of fishing in the great state of Iowa. The first chance I got to go fishing was during a very hot and sunny afternoon on July 15th. We had spent all morning with the kids on a boat tubing, and those little monsters were tired. So my father-in-law and I decided to check out a series of docks and walkways over the water that was located very near to our condo on East Okoboji Lake. I was very amused to see that there was a lift for people to use to get down to the docks. I was inspired to take a video on it. Once I was done screwing around on the lift, we were able to scope out some shade generously provided by the coverings of various boat slips. So, we set up shop and got to fishing. Spoiler alert, the business of fishing was good. All said and done, we fished for only about 2 hours and caught a massive amount of high quality fish. We were so blessed with a good variety of fish as well, about 5 species in all. We only used one presentation during the entire time, my standard 1/32 ounce jig head with a piece of worm. The fishing we did wasn't about long casts or fast retrieves. It was about finesse and skill and getting the bait into small spaces in and around the boats. For the first 30 minutes, the bite was hot, hot, hot. We were catching a species of fish that I have not encountered in the Omaha metro area, namely the yellow bass. These little buggers fought incredibly hard for their size. At first, we thought we were hooking into much larger fish, only to be surprised when we pulled them out. A common refrain out of our mouths was, "Dang, this thing's fighting really hard, I think it's big," or, "I thought I had a largemouth bass or something bigger." Either way, I was happy with the situation and kept up what I was doing. Speak of the devil. There it is. Just talking about a yellow bass. Wanting to catch a yellow bass again, and then one hit. The yellow bass bite started to drop off, only to be replaced by a steady bite of quality bluegill and other panfish. Most of the bluegill caught were thick and juicy. I didn't have my scale or tape measure with me, but I would say most were around 8 inches and super chunky. They also had a beautiful color to them. They were definitely very, very vibrant. I was also pleasantly surprised to catch a species of fish I haven't caught in a very long time. The pumpkinseed. All said and done, I caught about 5 or 6 of these brilliantly colored fish, and all of them were big fat fatties. What a treat. I keep a clicker style counter in my tackle bag, and as time went by, the clicks kept up at a steady pace. Then, somewhere around fish click number 50, my poor jig head, the same one that I have been using the whole time, met its match. My rod bent with sudden ferocity that surprised the heck out of me. I didn't know what was on at first, but it was way bigger and way angrier than anything I had yet caught that day. In my excited mind, I was like, "Ooh, I hope it's a muskie." It wasn't. Muskies are called the fish of 10,000 casts for a reason. They are rare. Well, what was it, you may ask? It was a very decent-sized largemouth bass. Nothing amazing. However, the fact that I was fighting in a small, enclosed space made it such a fun challenge. I was finally able to land that fish and dry it off long enough to take a fast picture before it was back in the drink, living its fishy life. However, my poor workhorse of a jig head was donezo. Look at that thing. I definitely got my money's worth out of that. We continued to hammer good-sized fish from our comfortable and shady position on the dock. Then we got our marching orders. The rest of the family was done with their activity, and the kids were hangry. So we had to reluctantly pack up and rejoin the tribe to make sure that the little monsters were mollified and satiated. When it was all said and done, we caught 61 total fish, a very respectable haul. But the thing I want to flex about the most is that not a single fish was gut hooked. Once again, I need to blow my horn of awareness. If you're fishing for smaller fish, please use a jig head setup. They rarely swallow the hook, and even if they do, it is much easier to retrieve it because it is not as deep. So, if you're primarily a catch and release fisherman like me, please consider using this method. I was incredibly satisfied with the result of the day because all the fish we caught were good size and they put up a great fight. I truly was experiencing intense internal turmoil because we had to go. I was like some degenerate gambler who just kept on saying, one more slot, one more pull, and I'll get the jackpot. But it was with fish, but we had to go. So it was sad to leave that day, considering we did so well. Next day, my father-in-law had arranged for a local guide to take us out on West Okoboji Lake. I'll link the guide's information in the video description. We thoroughly enjoyed our time with him. He was very personable, he kept a clean boat, organized setup, and most importantly, he knew where to get us on to fish. West Okoboji is definitely the crown jewel of the Iowa Great Lakes system. It is so clear. Our guide told us it is because, unlike the other lakes in the system, it is fed with spring water. It is also the deepest lake in Iowa at 136 feet. During the night, the weather changed significantly. Storms moved through and the temperature dropped dramatically. The day before on the docks, it was 93 degrees and sunny. However, by the afternoon of the day we were going out with the guide, the temperature was only supposed to reach a high of 66 degrees with a strong wind out of the northwest. Which is too bad, because I was hoping to film some evidence of the lake's clarity. Our guide asked us what we'd like to target, and we simply said, we'd like to catch fish. We are not picky on the species. Because of the condition, our guide set us up with his all-around rig. The rig was a spinning rod fit with 8-pound monofilament line. The business end was a 1/8 ounce jig head with 2 worms, though they were not night crawlers, on a leader attached to a swivel. Above the swivel was a small barrel weight and a bead. Next was the star of the show, a slip bobber. The slip bobber allowed the depth to be set at about 17 to 18 feet. This allowed the bait to suspend just a few feet above the bottom. We were fishing in almost a constant depth of 20 feet because our guide did such a fantastic job of keeping that depth constant, and so our rig was always exactly where it needed to be. For me, I only caught bluegill. In fact, I caught 24. However, those 24 fish I caught were big. They were much bigger than the good-sized bluegill I had caught the day before on the docks. So I wasn't in the least bit put off by the fact that I was only catching one type of fish. My father-in-law and brother-in-law, using the same setup, caught the same good-sized bluegill, but they also caught some good-looking largemouth bass. Our guide was quite happy with the amount of fish we caught because he feared the cooler temperatures would depress the bite. After a few hours of fishing for anything, we asked the guide to target bigger fish, so he brought out a new set of poles with a drop shot rig. I've never used this method, and it took me some getting used to. In fact, I lost a few fish because I wasn't accustomed to the right time to set the hook. In one instance, I got really excited when I had a fish on for about 20 to 30 seconds, then nothing. When I reeled in the slack, it had been cut clean off. In my mind, of course, I could only think one thing. Muskie. It had to be a muskie. Our guide poured cold water on my fantasy by telling me it was most likely just a northern pike. But to be honest with you, I would have been ecstatic to have caught a northern because I have only caught 2 of those things in my entire life. Oh well. By the end of our time with the guide, I had personally caught 26 fish, 24 big bluegill and 2 good-sized largemouth bass on the drop shot rig. My father-in-law and brother-in-law caught more bass than I did, and I don't think they kept count of their total fish tally like me. But at least I had a muskie on the line. Ha! Like all good things, our time in northern Iowa came to an end. I learned some new techniques, caught some good fish, and was happy for the time with my family. Thanks for watching, everybody.